All right. So my name is Kevin Eubanks. I am a policy analyst with the Employment and Training Programs with SSP. I work with a lot of on a lot of the budget fiscal side, including helping to process invoices, answer questions regarding that. Um, and with me are Kane and Sherry. You both probably, everybody probably knows them, but I'll go ahead and give a moment so that they can introduce themselves. And while we're doing that, if you could put your name, your role, your district into the chat, that would be fantastic. So I will pass it on to them right now. Sherry, if you'd like to go.
Sure, I'll jump in. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Sherry Burrell, and I'm half of the employment and training team that we focus on the job side. I cover districts 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, and District 15. And so, yeah, anything that's jobs related and with contracts and budgets and services, I'm that go-to person. And then I'll hand it off to my other half, Kane.
Thanks, Sherry. Yep, I'm the other half. My name is Kane Ransom. I'm with the Jobs, Employment, and Training team, one of the policy analysts on the team. And I cover districts 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 14, and 16. I'm watching Sherry nod. Okay, I think I got them. That should be all 16 districts between the two of us. But thank you all for being here and reach out with any questions. Back to you, Kevin.
Perfect. Thank you both. I am going to turn off my camera to save bandwidth. So don't think that you have to be on camera, but feel free at any time if you'd like. You can either raise your hand, or if you have a question, just come off mute, say you have a question, or you can always put questions in the chat, and Kane and Sherry will assist by answering those. And again, thank you for being here for the Jobs Contractor Provider Invoice Training for 25-26. I will go ahead and share my screen and we will get started. All right. So, as most of you know, start of a new biennium, we typically do this training annually to just go over as a refresher for invoices, and so that if there's any changes to invoices or any changes of that nature, we can go over them and let everybody know so that you can uh, you can process accordingly. If you also have any questions after this meeting, or if you don't feel comfortable asking a question in this meeting, always feel free to email the TANF Jobs Invoices inbox, and we will respond as quickly as we can to those questions. And so, can everybody see my screen? Can someone give me a thumbs up if you can see? Perfect, thank you. All right, so let's dive right in. So, as you all know, this is the main page for the invoices. It's a monthly page, and we'll start. I have each one numbered. These materials I'm going to add to this meeting and resend it out after this meeting so that they will be available for everybody. So as you can see, it's labeled with different portions, and we'll go over each of these sections as needed. So section 1, and that's a pre-filled section, and that's where you'll locate the district, contract name, contract number, and the month that we are in. Make sure that all of those are correct for each of your invoices as you're processing them. Look at the contract number, the vendor, the month. It's important that you have the correct contract number for your invoice, because when those get sent off to the Office of Financial Services for payment, they look at the contract number. They don't
Kevin?
necessarily look at the district or name. Yes.
Sorry, I thought you just paused. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Can you make your screen a little bit bigger? Perfect.
Does that
Thank
look
you.
better? Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. And there we go. All right. And so going down, that's number one. The second part are the jobs activity descriptions. The activity codes are from the track system and the full name of the activity. Activities on the list are allowable services supported by the jobs program. Please see the jobs activity guideline, the JAG, for a more detailed description of each activity. You can find that link at the bottom of page 3 of the business plan under resources. Each activity that has been identified as part of the service delivery for each contractor in the approved business plan will be highlighted blue on each tab. Invoicing must align with the approved activities. An important note, if a contractor and district leadership decide to make changes in the job's activity, that will be offered through the contract, the business plan, and the budget must be updated accordingly and submitted by the contract administrator to ODHS and central office. All right. Oh, sorry, one moment. Opening up this version. It will be easier for me to read it and leave this up here. Additionally, with this invoice, we ask that you please do not adjust the format of the invoice, change any settings, add or change formulas, layout, or the highlighted sections. So please remember that. So section 3, this is the job support services. This section is for contractors who will be offering support services as part of their service delivery. Support services are negotiated and identified through the business plan and budget templates. These payments must be aligned with the appropriate jobs activity. Support services that are issued out by contractors must follow ODHS rules and policies when issuing payments. Please see the Job Support Services Guide for a more detailed information with information such as intent, eligible and ineligible individuals, payment overview, non-allowable payments and non-allowable activities, type of payment, description and use, and guidelines and limitations. Information can be found on page 13 of the business plan, section 7. New for this year, support service documentation is required. A separate page will be provided with the monthly invoice to provide all necessary information regarding the support services issued. Contractors who are offering support services will be required to complete this separate workbook page for each month they issue support services. I will go into more detail with that as soon as, well, we'll get to that a little bit later on, but that is new for this year. And in case anybody is wondering, we've made the decision not to lock the workbook, and so it will be unlocked for editing. We just ask that you don't change any of the formulas or any of the information on there. Just enter the data. And so section 4, and this is one of the main parts that you'll see. There's in the current model of the invoice, contracted services for TANF leavers and non-TANF families are under one category. We decided to break that up into contracted services for TANF leavers and then the support services and put them in their respective sections. And so for TANF leavers and non-TANF families, this is number 4. You'll see 2 parts for 4. Contractors can provide expanded jobs contracted services to TANF leavers and or support service payments to TANF leavers or non-TANF families, only when approved by ODHS, district leadership, and central office. Contracted services for TANF leavers and support services for TANF leavers and non-TANF families must be billed in the corresponding line and identified on the support service documentation page discussed in section 3. Activities and support payments for these services must be identified and agreed upon in the approved business plan and budget. And you can refer to the business plan and contract boilerplate for more information. Section 5. These are accounting codes that are pre-filled and are specific to the district and activity. Please do not adjust the numbers in these columns. Adjusting those numbers or altering them, changing them, removing them can cause delay in payment because OFS uses those accounting codes for billing purposes. So it's important that you don't alter any of those codes. All right. Section 6 is the program activity costs. These are costs associated with the direct services to jobs participants. Section 7, admin costs. These costs, the costs of administrative functions, both directly and indirectly associated with all services provided under the jobs contract, can include costs such as general accounting, audits and reviews, janitorial and maintenance services, etc. The program has in place a 15% maximum for administrative costs to the total contract budget. If that total administrative rate exceeds 15%, additional review and approval will be needed by central office. In some cases, the admin rate in a single month may exceed the 15% admin rate. If this occurs, please provide an explanation as to why the rate was over 15% for that month. Contractors and contract administrators will need to monitor this to ensure the total administrative rate does not exceed the allowable admin rate and budgeted amount in the executed contract. Number 8 is the total, and there's a formula in each of these cells that will calculate the total program and administrative costs. And then section 9 is the activity cost percent of total. This column will calculate the total cost of each component from the column labeled total and will determine the percent of that component to the total monthly billing amount. All right, and before I move on to the next section, are there any questions regarding anything that we've discussed on this page? If not, we'll scroll down here to 10. All right. Part 10 are actual services provided. So the first column here, you'll see the number of services provided. This column is the number of services that were provided within each of the activities during the billing month. We have provided a definition of what that is, what a service is, and that is at least 30 minutes of direct contracted service provided. One referred participant could potentially have more than one service counted in a month. An example, if a contractor meets with a participant 2 times in a month, providing 30 minutes of direct service in each meeting, then that would be 2 services billed for that family in that month. The next column is the percentage by activity by total services. This is a percentage of the services by total number of services during that billing month. And then you have the cost per estimate. That formula divides the number of services per activity by the total number of services to establish an estimation of the cost per service. All right, moving on to cost by category section. These costs need to align with the categories outlined in the budget template. If there is a cost that has not been identified in the budget template or does not fit into one of the non-personnel categories, you will need to use the line Other and describe what the cost is for approval. Contractors may have other specific cost types detailed in their business plans, budget details by cost by category tab. The amounts for program admin and total in this section should match the totals in the cost by activity section. And I'll show you the screenshots of each of those. So the totals here should match the totals that found in cost by activity. And again, as stated before, we won't be locking, so you will be able to actually edit and put what the other cost is in there, which will be good. All right, and I see in the chat. All right. Thank you, Sherry. Moving on to signatures. The contractor must sign and approve the monthly invoice prior to sending to local district to review. This can be done by signing, scanning, and emailing it, approving the invoice within the body of the email, or electronically signing and dating it. Local districts must review the invoice, and once the invoice is approved, the contractor admin and/or designated ODHS staff will need to sign the invoice approving of the bill and send that to the jobs invoice email address that we indicated in the chat. The central office employment and training team will review the invoices and will either forward on for final signature or identify errors on the invoice and will return the invoice to the local district office, who will then work with the specific contractor for corrections. All right, moving on to the new support services documentation page. The new support service documentation page can be found next to the corresponding month and is labeled the month -SS for support services. So you'll see the July tab, and then right next to that, you'll see July or JUL-SS, and that's what the documentation page is. And moving on to the next page, we'll show you what that looks like. It's a pretty simple format. At the top, you'll see the month and then the contract name, the contractor name, and the contract number at the top, just so that it doesn't get mixed up. Those will be pulled over from the year-to-date page, so you won't need to edit those. In the labeled columns below is the information that you would need to enter. Section 1 is the issuance date. The date the support service was issued to the participant. Section 2 is going to be the participant name, the name of the participant to whom the support service was issued. Section 3 has a drop-down and identifies 3 TANF statuses, either TANF recipient, TANF leavers, or non-TANF families. So you'll be able to identify the support service. Number 4 is the contracted service associated with the support service payment. You just need to put in SL, VT, JO, whatever contracted service it is in association with. Number 5 is going to be a payment detail that you will be able to identify a brief description of the payment. For example, you can type in books or if there's a professional fee, the type of professional fee, rent, etc. Number 6 is going to, that last column on the right is going to be the amount issued. And so you would enter that total in there. At the bottom, you will see this section down here. You'll see one line that says total, the other one that says total support services from invoice. The top value is the total that is added up on this page. And the bottom will be the total, and it'll be pulled from the invoice page. And those two should equal. You should have the same amount in support services as issued as reported on the support services page. An important note is that only contractors who offer support services will have these additional monthly pages in their Excel invoice workbook. So if the contractor does not provide support service payments, you will not see this page on those invoices. All right, up to this point, are there any questions regarding this portion or any other questions? Okay, I don't see any questions, so we will move on. All Right. So we'll go into something else you may see on some of the contracts. On 1/12 contracts, there will be a chart that has the approved fixed rate chart. Contracts with approved fixed rates will have an approved fixed rate chart, which will give the maximum monthly totals to stay within the approved fixed rate standards. And please note that due to rounding issues, totals may need adjustments at the end of the year. And so you'll see a program total and an admin total, and those will be in there just for a quick reference to help you in your invoicing. Additionally, there are some tiered contracts, and contracts with tiered payments will have a specific chart indicating the payment rates based upon the monthly outcomes. The tiered payment is a fixed monthly payment based upon contracted services. And those of you contractors with tiered payments will be able to identify that. Support, and it's important to note that support services issued for fixed or tiered payment are dollar for dollar and above and beyond the fixed rate. And again, only contracts with approved fixed rates and or tiered payments will have those charts available because they aren't necessary if it's not offered by the contractor. All right. Any questions up to this point? I don't see any in the chat. So let's move on. So in addition to this form, you will have access to a cheat sheet. And it was revised for this biennium. And so the first page just has a number of questions to ask regarding each invoice. So when you're filling out an invoice, does the invoice have the correct district, correct contract name, and correct contract number? Does the billing reflect the activities highlighted in blue? Is there a total program cost and administrative cost for the activity? Is the administrative cost at or below the contracted amount? If it's higher, we would require a justification as to why. And again, that can be just put in the body of the email. We understand that rates can sometimes fluctuate with staffing needs, things like that. But just provide the justification. And is there a number of services provided? If the contract is allowing support services to be issued or is providing services to TANF leavers, non-TANF families, does the billing reflect the activities highlighted in blue? Is there a total program cost and administrative cost for the activity? And is there a number of services provided? And the cost by category table. Is the table complete with the breakdown of expenditures? If you've included a cost from either line G or H, which are the other costs, did you include a description of what those costs were? And then finalizing the invoice. Do the cost by activity, line 40, match the totals and the cost by category? Line 22. Does the administrative cost, is it at or below the contracted amount? Was it signed by the contractor and local district? Each tab will have the due date at the top as standard. And the per contract language, contract should should bill 45 days after the month of service. We have included the due date as a reminder. As a key performance measure, we're asking that for contractors and districts to please get invoices in timely. Also a reminder that June 2026 invoice is due July 31st due to our federal funding ending for the biennium. And we will go on to year-to-date tab. Additionally, one thing that I think I forgot to add is on the invoice, in the costs by categories, we've added a new line, and that new line is for support services. So you can input the support services there rather than inputting them on G or H. Apologies about that. All right. The year-to-date tab is a useful tool for both contractors and contract administrators to look at each month when billing. This tells a story of the allocated funds where they're being used. It provides some level of forecasting for the remainder of the billing year, and it provides an average of monthly spending. We will be sending out the updated invoices as soon as possible. I think Kane and Sherry may have more information on that, and they'll be able to answer in the chat. So you'll have, moving forward, you'll have the annual budget amount, and these are the amounts of the contract that are for the period of July 1st, 25 through June 30th, 26. Year-to-date expenditures, what amount of the total budget has been used so far, the percent of program and admin, is the admin cost and the program cost at or below the contracted amount, the remaining balance in the contract, is billing too high or too low? Those are some of the questions that you can be asking. What's causing that billing discrepancy? The percent of the budget expended. Are the monthly billing amounts close to what the 1/12 payment might look like? Or at the 6 month of the contract year, is the billing around 50%? Is it too high, too low? Do adjustments need to be made? The percent of budget remaining, and the average to date. And so the year-to-date page is a really useful tool when trying to project how the contract is, how it's looking, how it's going to look in the future, to see overages, to see under. So it's really important to keep that updated so that you can monitor that appropriately. We also have the projected end of year amount, and that shows us, based on forecasting, where contract spending may be at the end of the fiscal year, and then the difference. And you've each seen that. There's a difference portion that tells you how much you're over, under for program, admin, and the total. The box above shows the percent zero is the percentage of admin to the contract. This will calculate each individual percentage rate based on the total budget. This is the percentage rate the contract must bill at. The box labeled approved fixed rate only is for contracts that have a fixed rate payment standard. These must be pre-approved prior to the contract and must all within the guidelines of the fixed rate standard. My apologies, got tongue-tied there. Only those approved will have an amount in this box, otherwise it'll be blank. Contractors who are allowed this payment method should bill the amount indicated. The year-to-date tab pulls information from all the months. Again, another important reason not to change or alter or delete formulas or add formulas. The table at the far bottom right will be the summary of the admin and the program by month and is paid out to the provider. It's a nice at a glance chart, so you can see where the billing is at. So let's go over on the cheat sheet what will cause the invoice to be returned. Billing for activities that are not highlighted in blue. Billing for activities that do not have a service number attached to the activity. If costs are incurred but no participant was served, we will ask for a justification of the cost before it is approved. Administrative rate over the allowable amount. There are months that admin rates may be higher than normal. We understand that that happens. We just need a justification as to why the admin rate is high before we can approve. If you're over the budgeted amount for either program or admin, and that typically happens towards the end of the fiscal year or the biennium, the invoice is not signed and approved via email by either the contractor or the local district. The invoice does not have the correct vendor, contract number, or an invoice used during a previous year. The invoice template issued this year is the one that should be used. Please don't use any prior year invoice templates. Incorrect totals for the costs. If the values on the spreadsheet do not correctly total in either activity costs or in cost by category, or those two totals for each of those sections do not match, the invoice will be returned for correction. not specifying the type of costs and cost by category, lines G and H, or not specifying in enough detail. Simply putting overhead or indirect does not specify the cost. You can put something like insurance or HR, or, we don't need a full breakdown of every penny spent, but just uh, a small breakdown of what those indirect or overhead costs are. Or not completing the support service documentation page, if applicable, or the support service documentation total is not equaling the total support services invoiced. All right, and the last few things about invoices. Invoices are due on the 45th day of the month following the service month. This is important. We monitor budgets and expenditures throughout the year, and when invoices are not submitted timely, we do not have an accurate accounting of where we are. When submitting an invoice, please send in the provided invoice in Excel format. It is okay to submit a PDF copy along with an Excel sheet, like with a signature, but sometimes they are difficult to read. Support services. We are asking that all providers who are authorized to issue support services begin to submit their monthly support services financial tracking with the invoice. Those providers authorized to issue support services will receive an invoice spreadsheet as discussed previously. This page needs to be completed if the support services are issued during the invoiced month. Please ensure that the totals also match. Again, we will have all cells unlocked in the invoice, and that is going to be sent out to the districts and contractors subsequently, and are asking that all providers follow the guidelines below. Number one, do not alter formulas on the document. This will cause issues in tracking, totals, and the invoice format in general. Do not add formulas to the document. It may seem easier to apply formulas to calculate your different costs, but those formulas will cause rounding errors. Those rounding errors will cause the invoice to be sent back for correction, thereby delaying payment. We ask that you do not copy and paste totals from other documents, as those oftentimes used formulas to calculate the values. See the previous bullet. Providers should manually enter all values into the invoice or support service documentation pages. This will prevent the common errors from formulas, rounding errors, and/or copying and pasting. If the admin rate for a specific month is high, or there is billing that does not include services provided, please ensure there's a justification as to why. Let us know. You can put it in the body of the email or on a separate document sent with it. It can be included, it will be included, pardon me, with the payment documentation, so the packets that we make. This ensures that we can process the invoice timely. If we see projected spending or administrative rates that are exceeding the contracted amount, we will be reaching out to the contract admins. Again, also, if you have any questions, please contact your local contract administrator or program manager. Please direct all invoice questions to the TANF Jobs Invoices inbox. For policy questions, please reach out to your district E&T policy analyst, and Kane and Sherry are those, and they pointed out which districts they were in. And then, as always, there's our E&T manager's email or contact information. Please do not directly contact OFS, our invoice admin, or our contract unit, as they are unable to answer your questions. Again, the best way is to contact either the TANF Jobs Invoices inbox or Kane and Sherry. And if you do send a policy question to TANF Jobs Invoices, I will make sure that it gets to the correct policy analyst as well. All right. Moving on to resources. We will be using a smart sheet to track the status and process for invoices. The smart sheet will be viewable for contract admin or program managers, and this document will track each month of the biennium by district and by contractor, the date invoice was reviewed and determined to be correct and complete, when it was sent over to our invoice admin team, when the invoice was signed by the E&T program manager, and when it was signed by the business manager. It will indicate the date it was sent to OFS. At this time, we still do not have a way to verify with OFS on the date the payment was issued. We will default for now on the 5 to 7 business days until we are able to establish a way to get that information more expediently. This document will also provide data around timeframes, trends, and where there are gaps in the process so that we are better able to address those issues and ensure the invoices are being received, reviewed, approved, and processed for payment within the guidelines provided. And this time, I'll go ahead and bring up this year's 24-25 TANF jobs invoice tracking for anybody that hasn't seen this. This is available to as stated, the program managers and the contract admin. You can actually go in here and open up your district, and I'm not picking on anybody. It's just opened up a random one. You'll see all the contractors listed, and you can also see where they are at in payment, when we receive them. You'll see the district, the month, the correct and complete date the invoice was received. So this date is put in. If we've sent it back, it'll be the date that we get it back to us. And then we have the date it was sent for packet, date that packet was sent back and reviewed, and then sent for signatures, and then finally OFS. And it also has the tentative date that it will be paid by OFS, and then the total processing timeframes on the far right. If it was sent back, you'll see notes in here as to why it was sent back, the most common reasons, the date it was sent back, and then the date we receive it back. And so we will have a new TANF Jobs invoice tracking smart sheet for this next year out as soon as we can, and we will make sure to get that to everybody. And so you can monitor and track that and make sure everything is correct on our end, in addition to monitoring it on your end. All right. So moving back to resources with communication. When there are questions about the status of an invoice, please use the following path for resolution. For providers, reach out to their local ODHS contract admin. Contract administrator will check the smart sheet on the status of an invoice. If they're unable to determine the status, they'll reach out to either myself, if I'm unavailable, or through the TANF Jobs Invoices inbox. If I'm unavailable, they can also reach out to their district points. And if none of us are available, which very rarely happens, but in that instance, they can reach out to Candy Quintal, the E&T manager. But we ask that you follow that that line in sending questions, and we get back to you as quickly as we can. For contract admin or program managers, look for the status on the smart sheet. You will be able to determine where it is at in the process. If you're unable to determine the status, please reach out to the TANF Jobs inbox as stated below, and you may also reach out to your district points. For central office, we'll review the smart sheet, the inbox to determine the status of an invoice, and we will be the ones to follow up with invoice admin staff as well as OFS to determine what is going on, and we'll respond to the field and providers. This will include reaching out to management as needed. All right, additional resources. We ask that all providers and ODH staff reach out to the E&T team rather than OFS or the invoice admin team or the contracts unit, again, because they typically won't be able to answer your questions. They typically go to us, and sending it to them, they're going to send it to us, and it's going to just create, it's going to create a lag in getting at the answers that you need or the information that you want, and it also duplicates work. And so just to streamline everything, follow the process or follow the email chain. Additional resources, you'll have jobs activity guides, which is a great reference for staff and providers to review the various activities available. Support service payments, page 13 of the business plan will have information regarding support service payments, including which are allowable, non-allowable, guidelines, limitations, as stated before. And finally, job service to TANF leavers and or non-TANF families. Contractors may provide expanded jobs contracted services to TANF leavers and or support service payments to TANF leavers or non-TANF families only when approved by ODHS district leadership and central office. And we have the definitions there of a TANF leaver or a non-TANF family, as well as some eligibility criteria as verified by the family coach or ODHS staff for those individuals. Finally, we have an invoice flow. And this is the basically summing up the invoice flow. And so the contractor must submit the invoice no later than 45 days following the service month. The invoice included support service documentation page is completed and sent to the TANF jobs invoices inbox. From there, the designated staff person will review the invoices and support service expenditure report, as well as any additional supplemental documentation. It includes justifications. Once the invoice is determined accurate, that point will prepare the invoice for signature and submit the signed and approved invoice. And then PDFs can be included but not submitted. Then that leaves us to central office. We have 10 days to process and submit the approved invoice to OFS once determined. These timeframes are a guideline. We try to follow them to the best of our ability. Invoices are pulled and reviewed by the ANT team, typically within 3 days, sometimes earlier. We try to get to it as quickly as we can of being submitted to the TANF jobs inbox. Approved invoices are sent to admin team to prepare for signature and for OFS processing. Typically, we try to have done within 2 days. And once all the signatures are secured, the admin will submit to OFS for processing. We try to do that within 2 days. Again, these are guidelines that we try to follow. Things happen sometimes, but we try to stay within that processing time frame. OFS has 5 to 7 business days to process and issue payments once received. Weekends and holidays may cause a delay in payment, and they'll take a look at everything, validate the budget amounts to the contract, and input the information into the system for payment. And again, that's why those index codes and contract number are so vital and important. So some additional information: contractors who are issuing support services as allowed by their contract need to submit their monthly support services expenditures with the monthly invoice. The page is provided as stated before. Totals should match. Invoices sent in PDF only will not be processed and will be returned. Delays may occur at any stage in the invoice process if the invoice received is not completed with required documentation, signatures, and or if there are discrepancies. Each stage of the invoice process will be tracked on the smart sheet, and this will allow everybody to see where we're at with that. If you have any questions or concerns regarding completing and submitting activities, components you are providing and billing for, the status of a payment or payment method, justifications or other required documentation, or just have general questions, again, please follow the guidelines and reach out to your local ODHS process or contact following that those guidelines. And so with that, that's our final document that we will have added. I have, this is the new invoice template. As you can see, it has both those. It has what it will look like on the year-to-date page. Again, we ask that you not alter this page. But if you go to the actual invoice page, you can see that the district, the contract name or the vendor, the contract number and the month. You can see the amounts that were entered in, the totals, and you can see that the number of services provided is there. The totals match. That's what we were talking about. Again, here in G other, they took out the specify the type of cost and put insurance because that was what that amount was for. So from there, we can see that support services were issued. And so you go to the next page, and this was what it would look like. Let me in a little bit more. So you can see that 2 support services were issued on 7/15 to the participant who is a TANF recipient, and it was for a professional fee for a license. And then on the 20th, for the next participant, and that was a TANF lever, and that was for a bus pass. And you can see that the totals down here match. And then going from there, back that all that information filters to the year-to-date page, and we can see down here what the year-to-date looks like at this time and the amounts. And so this would be if just 1 month was done, and that would be the month of July. But so this is what it will look like, and basically an example of how you will fill it out. All right. Are there any questions? I know we went through a lot of material, but we left some time at the end for any questions, any comments, anything needed. All right, Marianne, go ahead. My apologies if I mispronounce your name, but yeah, go ahead.
Marianne, you're on mute if you're
Yeah.
speaking.
Yes, I'm speaking. Okay. Sherry said that you might go over services because we do supported work. And that used to mean the number of clients we serve during a month, and it might be different now with services totals.
So this is the question about whether or not and I'm going to ask Kane to jump on here, is how do we calculate if we're when we're invoicing, do we invoice for individuals or are we invoicing for services? And the answer would be we should be working with, as you're putting those numbers of services in, the number of services that you are providing to the participants that you're working with. And I know that Kane has shared a definition, but maybe he can chime in a little bit here and provide a little additional guidance.
Yeah, and it's what Kevin's showing currently on that document that we'll send out to you. So the definition, and it's in the contract boilerplate as well, is at least 30 minutes of a direct contracted service provided. So depending, Marianne, that could just represent one individual, or if in the scenario given below in the example, it could potentially be more than one service for an individual in a given month.
So the person that does direct program delivery would need to keep track of how many minutes she spends with each client each month and then divide that by 30. And that's the total number of hours. That's the number of services we provided. We have people working in St. Vincent de Paul stores, and she goes and visits them every week. and there may be multiple of them. And before we just said how many had been referred to us, how many were actively working.
Sure. So think about it. If I go out once a week to the store and I meet with 5 of my participants and check in on them, how are they doing? If you're just doing a check-in with them, how's it going? And it's about, you're seeing what they're up to, you're monitoring, you're looking, and you have 5 people. Well, there's 5 services because you've kind of addressed all of them. You've checked in on all of them. You're observing, you're kind of making sure, and you do that 3 times a month to those site visits, and you can track it that way. I think that I don't necessarily think you have to track minute for minute, but if you're going out 3 times a week, and you're meeting, or 3 times a week, 3 times a month, and you're meeting with those, and you're doing some oversight, and you're checking in with this kind of the managers who is ever running the store, or who's kind of responsible for them, making sure that they're doing okay. I think that's a very practical reason, or practical opportunity to bill for that time for those individuals. So instead of billing one time a month for one person, you would essentially be able to bill 3 times, because you went and you checked in on them 3 different times during the month. You made sure they were meeting their goals. You're making sure that they're doing well, whether you're meeting with them and the supervisor who oversees them and whatnot. So that would be kind of it's just shifting how that looks, if that makes sense. And we can
so
always
that
go
so
ahead.
is this a change from the way that was reported before? We've never heard that we need to keep track of the number of minutes per client per month.
So yeah, it's not new. We implemented this last biennium, and I think that when we did our last kind of go round of jobs visits earlier this year, we were finding across the board that there's still a lot of confusion, and that's why we're trying to call it out now. Is that we want providers to be able to bill for the work that they're doing, not just one time. So you may bill for the same person 3 times, 3 separate different interactions that are at least 30 minutes. So it's not necessarily tracking minute, like, oh, I only saw this person 27 minutes, so I can't bill for them. We're not asking you to necessarily be that detailed. We're saying that, it's about 30 minutes of some level of a direct service. And that could be, you talk with them for 10, 15 minutes, but you're also talking to the supervisor for all of that time. And so, yeah, but if you have additional questions, we can definitely go more in depth offline, if that would be helpful. But it's not I think it's something that we did implement, and I think it's just hasn't quite taken across the whole state yet. We have some folks that are doing it and doing it great. We found a lot of folks that weren't doing it. We were able to find that during the new contract negotiation process, when we were getting numbers in, like, are these numbers, are these services, and we're able to catch some of it there. So it's not new. It's just whether or not we've kind of been in this kind of trying to completely get there, and we're slowly making our way there. So I guess if you have questions, little more detailed questions specific to the work that you're doing, please let us know, and we can have a conversation offline.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Sherry and Marianne and Kane. Are there any other questions? I do see in the chat there was a question regarding about the recording, and yeah, and we've reached out and made contact with our business manager regarding getting that out to everyone for viewing. And so we will do that as quickly as we can. Additionally, to this, I'm going to be I'm going to be attaching the documents to the meeting and resending that out. It went out to it went out to everybody. Both sessions went out to everybody. So And then if you forwarded that along, then it should be available for those individuals as well. And so you'll have all 4 of these documents to refer back to. Right. Is there anything else? We have time, so if you have any questions, please feel free to ask or put it in the chat. Again, you can always email us as well. All right, I'm not hearing or seeing anything else. Again, we did have that ending time for questions just in case. Sometimes we know question and answer periods can go a little bit long, but we thank you all for being in attendance. Again, we will get this information out to each of you. If you don't receive it by the end of the week, or you're unable to access it, you can always drop us a line, and we can individually email that out for you. Yeah, thank you very much, everybody. Have a great rest of your day, rest of your week, and we will talk with you all soon. How did that go, everybody? Because it's only me,
Oh, is it
me
just
and you
us?
two left. Yeah, just us.
Bears barged in. Yeah.